Every fisherman fears the deep, but no one fears what climbs out of it. On Blackridge Lake, 3 men went night fishing and only one came back. What he saw wasn't a creature. It was something wearing his friend's voice, and its own face was missing. Blackridge Lake wasn't the kind of place tourists visited. Locals fished there because it was quiet, deep, and black as oil after sunset. The kind of black that swallowed boat lights whole. The kind that made men lie to themselves. It's just water, nothing else. It was close to midnight when Evan, Mark, and Luis pushed their old aluminum boat off the dock. 3 childhood friends. All broke, all exhausted, all convinced that night fishing might at least buy them breakfast the next morning. The air had that heavy, wet cold only American backwoods lakes carried. Thick, breath-stealing. Evan checked the motor. Mark loaded the bait. Luis cracked a joke that didn't land. But no matter how hard they tried to pretend it was a normal night, the lake had already gone unnaturally quiet. No insects. No wind. No ripples. Just a wide, dead mirror. Evan felt at first that crawling tension deep in his ribs. Not fear. Instinct. Something was wrong. And later, he'd swear this was the moment the lake noticed them. The motor coughed across the water, cutting through the silence like a knife. It echoed too far, too long, as if the lake had hollow spaces beneath its surface. They drifted toward the middle, the deepest part, where the water turned even darker. Mark was first to lean over the edge. "Water's too damn still," he muttered. Luis laughed it off. "Still water's good fishing, man." But Evan wasn't stupid. Still water meant something wasn't moving under it. Something big. They cast their lines. The hooks sank without a sound. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Nothing. Not a single tug. Mark finally grumbled and reached for another beer. But Evan stopped him. "Listen." They expected silence. But that wasn't what they got. A slow, deliberate slap hit the side of the boat. Once. Then twice. Then again closer. Not waves. Not fish. Something was touching them. Luis flicked on the lantern. The lake lit up in a shaky yellow glow. That's when they saw it. A wet handprint on the aluminum hull. A human handprint. But the fingers were too long. And the palm was too narrow, like someone had stretched human skin over the wrong bone structure. Mark cursed. Luis swore it had to be a prank. But Evan already felt the panic rising. Something unseen was circling them, studying them. Another slap. Then another. Then breathing. Low. Thick. Wet sounding. As if someone with no lungs was trying to imitate the sound of lungs. Evan pointed the lantern at the water. Water reflected nothing. Not the light. Not the boat. Not the men. Blackridge Lake wasn't mirroring anything anymore. It was swallowing every reflection. Then something surfaced. Ahead. Bald. Pale. Featureless. No eyes. No mouse. No nose. Just smooth skin, as if someone had sculpted a human face but stopped halfway. The faceless shape hovered inches beneath the water, staring or sensing the men. Mark froze. Luis whispered something like a prayer. Evan couldn't breathe. The faceless thing tilted its head slowly, like a curious child. Then it disappeared beneath the black. The lake went still again. For a full minute none of them moved. Then something grabbed the boat from below so hard it lifted one side clean out of the water. Metal screamed. Luis lost his balance and nearly fell overboard. Evan pulled him back just in time. Another hit. Harder. Whatever lived under that lake wasn't curious anymore. It was hunting. The motor wouldn't start. Mark kept yanking the cord, but the engine just sputtered uselessly. Another violent shove nearly tossed all 3 men into the water. Evan grabbed the oars, pointless, but he didn't care. Anything to move. Then a voice echoed across the lake. Evayan. Not Mark. Not Luis. Not human. A perfect replica of Evan's dead brother's voice. The brother who drowned on this exact lake 10 years earlier. But the voice came from directly under the boat. Luis broke first. He screamed Evan's name as something unseen dragged him off his feet toward the edge. A pale arm shot out of the water. Long, slimy, boneless looking, and wrapped around Luis's ankle. Evan lunged to grab him, but the faceless thing was stronger. Luis's nails scraped the metal floor as he was yanked toward the black water. "Don't let it." He didn't finish. Luis vanished beneath the surface in one violent pull. The lake swallowed him whole. Evan and Mark just stared at the water, shaking, empty, helpless. Then the lake spoke again. "Mark." This time, it used Luis's voice. And that was when Evan knew the worst part. The faceless thing didn't just hunt. It learned. It was learning them, learning their voices, learning their fear. And it wasn't done. Not even close. Evan's hands wouldn't stop shaking, even as he forced himself back into the center of the boat. The lake had already taken one of them, fast and merciless. Luis didn't even have time to scream properly. One moment he was there, the next he was dragged into the dark like the water had swallowed him on purpose. Mark kept whispering, "No, no, no, no way he's gone. No way." But the denial wasn't convincing anyone. Especially not the lake, which had gone silent again, hunter silent. Evan's instincts screamed at him to leave, to get off that water, to get away from whatever mimicked voices from the dead and dragged men by their ankles. "Try the motor again," Evan ordered. Mark tried. The engine coughed, sputtered, then died. Something thumped the bottom of the boat. A single, slow thud. Not violent like before. Almost deliberate. Like a knock. Mark dropped the pull cord in terror. "It's under us." Evan wanted to tell him to shut up, but he couldn't deny the truth. Whatever lived beneath Blackridge Lake wasn't swimming anymore. It was right under their feet. The lake rippled softly, like breath rising from below. Mark looked over the edge. "Luis, if you can hear us, yell." For a few seconds, nothing answered. Then the lake whispered back. "Mark, help me." Luis's voice, but wrong. Bit. Slow. Garbled, like someone imitating him for the first time. Evan grabbed Mark's collar. "That's not him. Don't listen." Something splashed behind them. Hard. Mark spun around so fast he nearly flipped the boat. He pointed the lantern into the dark, but the beam swallowed into the black lake as if the water itself refused to reflect light. Then they heard it, wet footsteps. On the water. Evan froze. The steps were slow, uneven, like something learning how to walk. Something was walking toward their boat across the lake surface, hidden by the fog. "Back up," Evan whispered. Mark shook violently. What the hell walks on water?" The fog shifted. A shape emerged. It was human-sized, pale, dripping lake water with every step. But its walk was broken, unnatural, like it was copying how humans moved but hadn't mastered it yet. The creature stopped at the edge of the boat. Its face was gone. Smooth. Empty. Like skin stretched over a skull with no features. Then it lifted its head. The skin rippled. Evan grabbed Mark's arm. "Don't look at it." But Mark couldn't look away. The creature leaned forward and opened its mouth. Except there was no mouth. So the skin simply split, tearing open in a perfect, silent line. No blood. No teeth. Just empty darkness inside. And then the darkness spoke. "Evan." Evan stumbled backwards. It was his mother's voice. The mother who had drowned herself in the same lake 22 years ago. Mark swung the lantern wildly, but the light flickered and died, plunging everything into darkness. The creature moved instantly. A wet limb grabbed the side of the boat, bending the aluminum inward like soft paper. The strength was unreal, inhuman. The boat tipped dangerously, water pouring in. Mark screamed and swung the tackle box, hitting the creature's arm. The creature didn't react, just tilted its head again like it didn't understand the concept of pain. Evan reached for an oar, not to fight, to push, anything to keep distance. The creature's skin writhed like worms under a sheet. Then it lunged. Evan shoved the oar between them. The creature grabbed the wood, crushing it with impossible force. Evan dropped the splintered handle and backpedaled. Mark slipped and fell onto the metal floor. The creature turned toward him. Mark scrambled, but the faceless thing was faster. Climbed into the boat with a wet, horrible sound, like meat being dragged across steel. Evan shouted, "Mark, move!" The thing grabbed Mark's shoulder. Mark shrieked as its grip sank into his skin like melting flesh. A cold, burning sensation spread up his neck, turning his skin pale instantly. The creature pulled him close, face inches from his.